you're watching this on replay, I should say no one's here yet because I just randomly dropped this live. It is 6 in the morning, and I woke up, and the house I'm sitting right now, the kid I'm watching, and the dog is still asleep, and I don't want to wake them up too early because it's like a Saturday and everything. So, yeah, I just figured I would come on and whisper stuff, like facts or something. Let me see what I can whisper about. Let's do historical events. Let's see something uplifting, because a lot of these are depressing. Oh dear, a lot are very depressing. We may not be able to do historical events. These are pretty bad historical events. Very sad historical events, like World War I, D-Day, Depression. Oh, it's the Titanic. Hold on. We're gonna whisper about the Titanic. That's one of my favorite things. Alright. So, I'm gonna whisper to you some facts about the Titanic, okay? So, fact number 1. The Titanic was the largest ship of its time. Pardon me. Titanic facts reveal that the RSM Titanic, as Titanic was officially called, was the world's largest passenger ship at the time. But it wasn't only the largest object at sea. It was also the largest man-made moving object on Earth in general. The Titanic, of course, doesn't hold that title anymore. The largest passenger vessel at the current moment is the MS Allure of the Seas, measuring 1,187 feet in length. Next fact, the Titanic was built in Belfast, Ireland. Belfast, Ireland was back then a part of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. The RMS Titanic was one of the 3 Olympic-class ocean liners. The other 2 vessels were called the RMS Olympic and the HMHS Britannic. These 3 were by far the biggest ships owned by the British shipping company White Star Line. All 3 ships, including the RMS Titanic, were constructed by Belfast shipbuilders Harland and Wolff. Since the magnitude of the ships was a much more important factor than the cost, the company received authorization to spend whatever they needed on the ships. Next fact, only 2 people died during the construction of the Titanic. None would be even better, of course, but only 2 deaths were actually quite an achievement, going by the building standards in that time. Around 3,000 people worked for more than 2 years to build the Titanic, and aside from the 2 deaths, 246 injuries occurred during the construction process. I hate this fact coming up. Next fact. The Titanic did not have nearly enough lifeboats for all its passengers. In one of the most well-known Titanic facts, that the vessel only had enough lifeboats for a small number of the passengers on the ship. The Titanic only had 20 lifeboats, which was enough to save 1,178 people. That was only about 1/3 of the passenger capacity on the Titanic. However, the Titanic actually had more lifeboats than was legally required at that time. But the number of lifeboats was not the only obstacle when it came to saving people from the sinking ship. The lifeboats were not filled to their full capacity. The first lifeboat that left the stricken ship only carried 28 people, but its capacity was 65 people. If all the lifeboats on the Titanic were filled to capacity, 53% of all passengers could have been saved, but only 31% were actually rescued. The lifeboat drill that was scheduled for April 14th also did not take place, and the reasons for its cancellation are unknown. It's so wild that the day the Titanic sank, there was a lifeboat drill scheduled. It's wild. Next fact. Almost 2/3 of the people on board the Titanic died. The majority of all 1,514 victims were men. 109 of them were women, and 53 were children. This is consistent with the fact that lifeboats were primarily filled with women and children, who therefore had a much better chance of survival. Even though second and third class passengers were hit harder than the first class passengers, there were 528 victims among the third class passengers, 167 victims among the second class passengers, and only 123 victims among the first class passengers. The group that suffered the most significant losses was the crew. Of the 908 members of the crew on the Titanic, only 212 of them survived the sinking. Out of 30 engineers, not a single one made it off the Titanic alive. If you're here watching this, by the way, you can leave a topic, a person, a place in the comments, and we'll read facts about it, okay? Next fact. Some Titanic passengers made it off the shipwreck. Even though the Titanic took many lives, there were also many survivors who were lucky enough to have made it off the ship alive. Their stories are very different, but most of them have a happy ending. The ship's baker, Charles Jongin, was reported to have managed to survive in the extremely cold water, which killed most of the passengers. At the time of the sinking, the sea temperature was only around 28 degrees Fahrenheit, so like below 0 degrees Celsius, because he had drunk enough whiskey to keep him alive. A Japanese passenger who was lucky enough to survive the accident did not receive a very warm welcome. Kanye West Twitter ban was Kanye banned from Twitter. That's funny. A Japanese passenger who was lucky enough to survive the accident did not receive a very warm welcome upon his return to Japan. He was called a coward for not dying with the rest of the passengers. And the last remaining survivor of the Titanic sinking, Milvina Dean, who was 2 months old at the time of the disaster, died on May 31st, 2009, at age 97. So yeah, hold on. Water. That's hilarious if Kanye West was banned from Twitter. Next fact. Cancellation saved many lives that would have been lost on the Titanic. Since traveling on the Titanic was one of the most exciting experiences of the era, absolutely everyone wanted to be on it, and therefore probably felt more than a little bad about missing the ship's departure. However, Titanic facts show that those who missed out were actually very lucky. Among the ticket holders who missed the journey were many famous names, including Milton S. Hershey, founder of the chocolate firm, Guglielmo Marconi, an Italian inventor and electrical engineer, and Alfred Gwynne Vanderbilt, a businessman and sportsman who died 3 years later on the RMS Lusitania. Wow. Next fact. Just 37 seconds passed between the sighting of the iceberg and the collision. Even though the sinking of the Titanic was quite a lengthy process, the first part happened rather quickly. The iceberg was spotted on April 14, 1912 at 11:40 p.m. by the lookout, Frederick Fleet, who yelled, "Iceberg right ahead." But it was too late. The ship crashed into the iceberg just 37 seconds later. The Titanic started sinking and eventually broke into around 2:20 a.m. on April 15th. It then sunk, sending all the passengers still on board into the depths of the ocean. Hi, Dr. Pickle. All in all, it took the Titanic about 2 hours and 40 minutes to sink completely. Yeah, I saw what Kanye said on Twitter about certain people groups, and it's very good that he got banned. I'm reading facts right now. I'm reading about the Titanic. But if anyone wants to suggest a topic, either a person, place, or thing, ideally something to do with history or geography, because that's what my channel's all about, just drop it in the chat. But next fact. Both the ship's captain and first officer went down with the ship. Together together with most of the other members of the crew. The ship's captain, Edward Smith, and the first officer, William McMaster Murdoch, both died on the Titanic. Smith's last words were, "Well, boys, you've done your duty and done it well. I ask no more of you. I release you. You know the rule of the sea. It's every man for himself now, and God bless you." A statue of Smith can be found in Lichfield, Stratfordshire, and a memorial to Murdoch is located in his hometown of Dalbeattie, Kirkcudbrightshire, Scotland. Next fact, which is a wild one. One conspiracy theory claims the Titanic tragedy was an insurance scam. There are many controversial and mysterious Titanic facts, but the theory of the ship being sunk on purpose is definitely among the most popular ones. Some people claim that the ship was sunk on purpose as a part of an insurance scam. Oh, thanks for the like on the stream. I appreciate that. But that the ship that sank was not the Titanic in the first place. It was supposed to be, in fact, Titanic's sister ship, the Olympic, which was disguised as Titanic. The Olympic was a bit older than the Titanic, but very similar in appearance, so it could have easily posed as the Titanic. The plan was supposedly to get rid of the Olympic, which had previously been involved in another accident and had been damaged beyond repair. Sinking the Olympic and claiming it was the Titanic would have allowed the White Star Line to collect the full insurance value of the brand new vessel. This means that the infamous Titanic could have been sailing around for years and years after its alleged sinking. Yeah, I don't believe that conspiracy theory. There's too many loopholes and inconsistencies in it. Next fact. Nobody invented cancel culture ons, so don't worry about it. A 30-second delay was responsible for the sinking of the Titanic. The Titanic was a huge ship, so it was difficult to change its direction quickly, which was also the reason why nothing could have been done once the iceberg had been spotted. But as Titanic facts reveal, the difference between safety and disaster was really only a matter of seconds. Had the iceberg been spotted only 30 seconds earlier, and had the order to change the course been given then, the Titanic could have avoided hitting the iceberg. However, Titanic facts also suggest that changing the course of the ship at the moment of spotting the iceberg was not the best possible choice. According to various sources, the Titanic might not have sunk if it hit the iceberg head first, which is what would have happened had the course not have been changed. That's true because the iceberg scraped the side and filled all the compartments in the bottom with water. So if it had only hit the front, it probably would have only filled up one compartment and it wouldn't have sank. I've never thought about that before. The next fact. The iceberg that sank the Titanic has been around for about 3,000 years. The iceberg that sank the Titanic was around 100 feet tall, and it had originally been a part of a glacier in Greenland. It was about 3,000 years old at the time of the accident. Even though there are many icebergs floating around the oceans, the Titanic is actually the only ocean liner that has ever been sunk by an iceberg. But that could change any time now, as ships today are more likely to encounter an iceberg than they were during the Titanic era. Next fact. A first-class ticket would have cost around $70,000 today. The price back then was about $4,350, which would be nearly $70,000 today. USS Liberty ship attack. No thank you, Hans. That's a bit depressing. Nothing too intense like that, please. Titanic is about as intense as it's gonna get. I lost my place. Sorry, this was the amount passengers had to pay for the most expensive first-class ticket to New York. It sounds a lot, but it was not much of a problem for most of Titanic's passengers. Its wealthiest passenger, John Jacob Astor IV, an American businessman, investor, and real estate builder, was worth an estimated $85 million when he died aboard the Titanic. The next fact. The musicians played for 2 hours and 5 minutes as the ship sank. Much has been said about the musicians playing without stopping while the Titanic was sinking, and Titanic facts reveal that most of this is true. The 8 musicians were employed by an agency and traveled on the Titanic as second-class passengers. They all died on the ship, and after the accident, their families were billed by their agency for the cost of the uniforms worn by the band members when they died. Oh my gosh, this caused outrage in the media at the time. That's crazy. They billed the families of the dead musicians on the Titanic for their uniforms. That's nuts. Next facts. The wreck of the Titanic was only discovered in 1985. One of the most surprising Titanic facts reveals that it took 73 years to locate the remains of the once majestic Titanic. There had been several attempts to find the ship's wreckage over the years, but they were unsuccessful. Finally, the Titanic, or what was left of it, was found 13.2 miles from its last known location, 370 miles off the coast of Newfoundland. The wreckage lies at around 12,500 feet below the surface of the ocean, but will not be there for much longer. According to scientists, a newly discovered species of rust-eating bacteria will completely consume the remains of the Titanic in the next 20 years or so. Yeah, I knew that fact, that the Titanic isn't going to be around much longer, because literally a brand new species of bacteria evolved on the Titanic wreckage and is eating it. Next fact. The Titanic has inspired many movies. There have been hundreds of movies and documentaries about the Titanic. I know, right, Dr. Pickle? The first one was called Saved from the Titanic and was released only 29 days after the sinking. I'm sorry, what? To talk about the timing. It was co-written by and starred a Titanic survivor named Dorothy Gibson. The most controversial Titanic film, yeah, I know about this one, was certainly the one commissioned by Joseph Goebbels in 1943. The plot of this movie discredited British and American businessmen and celebrated brave German passengers. It's the weirdest Nazi propaganda movie of all time. But the Titanic movie that has undoubtedly been the most successful is James Cameron's Titanic. The movie, which was released in 1997, grossed more than $2 billion and won 11 Oscars. The budget for the filming was higher than the budget for building the Titanic itself. Next fact. The Titanic's interior resembled the Ritz Hotel in London. Titanic facts reveal that the interior of the vessel was loosely based on the design of the Ritz Hotel in London. But the Titanic took things to the extreme. Facilities available on board included luxuries such as a gym, a pool, a Turkish bath, a kennel for first-class dogs, 2 libraries, and a squash court. The most majestic ship in history even had its own newspaper called the Atlantic Daily Bulletin. Next fact. The Titanic wasn't very environmentally friendly. Thank you for the like. It was not too much of a concern back then, but the Titanic would be considered extremely eco-unfriendly these days. Yes, first-class dogs. John Jacob Astor's dog. Oh, I forget her name. It was an Airedale Terrier. She died on the Titanic with him. I know that fact. There are a lot of dogs on the Titanic, dude. Like, a lot of dogs. Like, a good 30-something dogs. What was her name? I forget the name of John Jacob Astor's dog that died on the Titanic. Anyway. The Titanic was considered extremely eco-unfriendly these days. The vessel burned around 600 tons of coal each day, which was hand shoveled into the furnaces by a team consisting of 176 men. As a result of this coal burning, almost 100 tons of ash were released into the sea for every single day of sailing. However, even though the Titanic burned so much coal, it only had 3 functioning funnels. The 4th one was fake and was only added to make the ship appear more powerful and to make it look symmetrical. I didn't know that the 4th funnel was a fake funnel. That's funny. Next fact. The sinking of the Titanic was predicted 14 years before it actually happened. One of the most surprising Titanic facts reveals that the sinking of the Titanic was actually forecasted in advance. In 1898, 14 years prior to the sinking, Morgan Robertson wrote a book in which he described an unsinkable ship called the Titan, which collided with an iceberg and sank. Yeah, that's a funny one. Next fact. The Titanic was especially unlucky for some of its passengers. Even though sailing on the world-famous Titanic did not turn out to be a positive experience for any of its passengers, it was even worse for some. One man who survived the sinking of a ship in 1871 and finally overcame his fears of sailing on a ship decided to give it another try. Tragically, he died on the sinking of the Titanic. And last fact is a summary. The RMS Titanic was the largest ship of its time, measuring 882 feet and 9 inches in length. It sank en route to New York, USA at 11:40 p.m. New York time, on the night of April 14th, 1912. The sinking claimed more than 1,500 lives. The majority were lost due to the insufficient number of lifeboats, that's a lie, and due to the fact that the lifeboats were not filled to their full capacity. The RMS Titanic went down in the North Atlantic Ocean, about 375 miles south of Newfoundland. The wreckage of the famous liner now lies 13.2 miles from its last known location, at around 12,500 feet below the surface of the ocean. Awesome. Let's see. Should we do famous wizards of history and fiction? That's the newest article on here. If anyone watching has a topic they want me to whisper about, just drop it in the chat. We can do people, places, things. As long as I can find it on this website, it has a lot of facts. So, I'm going to start reading this article that I've been meaning to read about famous wizards of history. Starting off with number 1, Abe no Seimei, an onmyoji from 10th century Japan. He followed the wisdom of a traditional Japanese school of mysticism based on Chinese concepts of yin and yang. In fact, Abe no Seimei became so famous for his knowledge that his patrons included the emperor and other members of the imperial court. His services included predicting the future through astrology, as well as offering advice on how to deal with issues facing the court in spiritually correct ways. He also lived a very long time, dying at the age of 84 when most people died in their 30s, and managed to avoid coming down with any major diseases. This further helped Abe no Seimei's reputation, as it served as evidence of his magical powers. After he died, Emperor Ichijo had the Seimei Shrine built in Kyoto to honor Abe no Seimei's memory. The shrine still stands today, with Abe no Seimei having become the archetypal magician in Japanese folklore, much like Merlin in the West. I didn't know any of that. That's really cool. Wizard number 2 is a fictional one, Albus Dumbledore. The headmaster of Hogwarts. I mean, I'm sure they're all. Is the Titanic still the worst shipwreck ever? I don't believe so, but I can't remember what is. I think the collision on the St. Lawrence. want to say that had more people that died than the Titanic. A like transport coal ship collided with a passenger ship on the St. Lawrence River, and like it sank so fast. Same with the Britannic, the HMS Britannic. It sank in like 16 minutes, so a lot of people didn't survive those ones. There were a lot more survivors from the Titanic, but there were also a lot more people on the Titanic than those, so it's debatable. It's definitely the most famous shipwreck ever. Alright, Albus Dumbledore. The headmaster of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, Dumbledore has a major supporting role in the Harry Potter franchise. For one thing, he serves as a mentor figure for Harry, teaching him the importance of love and forgiveness. Dumbledore also serves as the main deterrent against the franchise's antagonist, Lord Voldemort. In particular, Dumbledore's eventual death causes the franchise's overall tone to take a turn for the dark and desperate. However, when Dumbledore initially appears as a wizard along the lines of Merlin or Gandalf, it's later implied that he lived under a shadow of his past. This past later received elaboration in the Fantastic Beasts film series, a spin-off prequel series based on the Harry Potter companion books. Next is from Warhammer, Azek Ahriman. Originating from Games Workshop's Warhammer 4000 franchise, Azek Ahriman belongs to the Thousand Suns Traitor Legion, a chaos sorcerer in service to the chaos god of change, Tzeentch. Ahriman's most infamous act involved the spell called the Rubric of Ahriman. He crafted the spell to solve the problem of uncontrolled mutations destroying his legion, itself ironically a side effect of their service to Tzeentch. He looks really cool. He's in like this cool armor and stuff. I don't know anything about Warhammer other than it's a game. The rubric magnified the psychic powers of every sorcerer in the Legion, while also keeping them from suffering from any more mutations. Those of the Legion who lacked psychic powers, though, found their bodies reduced to dust, which then became magically sealed inside their armors. Ahriman saw it as an acceptable outcome, but his father, Magnus the Red, Primarch of the Thousand Suns, disagreed. Magnus would have killed Ahriman on the spot, but Tzeentch personally intervened to save him. Magnus then banished Ahriman, with the sorcerer spending the next 10,000 years wandering the galaxy. In particular, he seeks to find the Black Library, which Ahriman thinks holds the knowledge he needs to become a god in his own right. That was pretty badass. Next is Belgoroth, also known as Belgoroth the Sorcerer. He's a major supporting character in David Eddings' Belgariad and Melorion series of novels. Never heard of those. The first of the god Alder's disciples, Belgoroth also became the first man to learn the secret of the will and the word. This made him the first and most powerful sorcerer in the world, and even made him immortal. In fact, his daughter even once claimed the fear that Belgoroth's power helps deter the Angaroks from invading the kingdoms of the West. Also, if anyone has any other topics, just drop them in the chat. Right now I'm whispering about wizards if you're just joining. Ironically, Belgoroth dislikes his reputation and avoids revealing his identity unless absolutely necessary. This has led him to disguising himself as a beggar to keep people from recognizing him. He's also even hired tailors to make him clothes that only look ragged and dirty but actually last a long time. Next is Circe, a goddess. A demi-goddess from Greek mythology. Her parents vary depending on the source material. Some stories claim the Titan Helios and the nymph Perse are her parents, while other sources say it's King Aeetes of Colchis and the goddess Hecate. Regardless of her origins, she is infamous for her role in the Odyssey. When King Odysseus and his men landed on her island on the way home from Troy, she turned the king's men into pigs. Odysseus had to bargain with Circe to return his men to normal, which she eventually does. In return, Odysseus lives with Circe for a year, and they had two sons, Latinus and Telegonus. I hope they were twins, because a year and having two kids. Anyway, she is a goddess. Circe also appears in other stories, with some versions of Jason and the Argonauts claiming Circe as Medea's teacher in magic. There's also the story of King Picus of Latium, who refused to let Circe seduce him. In retaliation, Circe turned him into a woodpecker. Circe also competed with the nymph Scylla for the affection of the sea god Glaucus. When Glaucus chose Scylla over her, the enraged Circe turned Scylla into a monster in response. Next is Doctor Strange. One of the most iconic wizards in modern media, Doctor Strange first appeared in comic books published by Marvel. Later on, he appeared on the big screen as part of Marvel's cinematic universe. In all his appearances, Doctor Strange holds the title of Sorcerer Supreme, leader of the Masters of the Mystic Arts, an ancient secret society of sorcerers. They hold the responsibility for protecting the Earth from arcane threats. Doctor Strange himself also holds the responsibility of guarding the Time Stone, one of 6 Infinity Stones dating back to the creation of the universe. As its name implies, it holds power over time. These include the ability to stop, reverse, or even fast forward time, as well as see the future. That said, Doctor Strange prefers not to use the Time Stone as much as possible, as doing so runs the risk of causing unintended consequences, even without the Time Stone. However, Doctor Strange remains one of the most powerful heroes in Marvel's list of characters. Next is Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars, also known as Darth Sidious. He holds the title of Dark Lord of the Sith, with George Lucas explicitly describing him as the most powerful man to ever hold that title. In particular, Palpatine became infamous for bringing the grand plan of the Sith to completion. As part of the plan, he subverted the Galactic Republic into the Galactic Empire with himself as Emperor before wiping out the Jedi Order. He also managed to subvert the prophecy of the Chosen One, Anakin Skywalker. Corrupted into Darth Vader, he instead became Palpatine's tool to destroy the Jedi instead of the Sith. Although Luke Skywalker later redeemed Vader, who then killed Palpatine, spoilers, the prophecy itself remained broken. Palpatine later returned from death using Sith magic. The Dark Lord using... I hate this movie. I love Star Wars and I hate this movie. The Dark Lord using clone bodies to house his spirit. He also used Sith magic against the New Republic to try and rebuild his empire by conjuring powerful force storms. And while the Skywalkers eventually managed to kill Palpatine again, it still took the combined efforts of every Jedi to have ever lived to keep him from returning from the grave again. Next is Jafar. I like this list. The antagonist of Disney's Aladdin, the sorcerer Jafar, officially serves the Sultan as the Grand Vizier. In secret, he uses his magic to manipulate the Sultan's mind and plots to eventually usurp the throne. This leads him to recruit Aladdin to get the genie's lamp for him, as the Cave of Wonders has strict conditions for anyone who tries to enter. However, Aladdin proves more intelligent than Jafar gave him credit for, and eventually takes the lead in fighting against Jafar's evil plot. While he's best known for his antagonistic role in the film, Jafar ironically did not exist in the original story from the book of 1001 Nights. In fact, his character was a fusion of 2 separate characters, an unnamed evil sorcerer and the unnamed Grand Vizier. And while the Grand Vizier also disliked Aladdin in the original story, he wasn't particularly villainous. Next is a historical one. John Dee, a mystic from 16th century England. John Dee became famous thanks to the patronage of Queen Elizabeth I. Officially, he only served as a court astronomer, but his office's responsibilities included using astrology to try and predict the future for the Queen. Surprisingly, however, Dee managed to balance the science of astronomy with the mysticism of astrology. In particular, he stayed close friends with the greatest astronomers of his time. These included Tycho Brahe, who further refined Nicholas Copernicus's theory that the Earth orbited the Sun instead of the Sun orbiting the Earth. In addition to astrology, though, Dee also used a crystal ball for scrying, or magically viewing distant places. Later in his life, Dee also attempted to communicate with angels. He hoped to learn the universal language of creation, which he thought would lead to humanity's unification. Pardon me. Drinking a lot of water. Next wizard is Gandalf. Best wizard ever. One of the main characters in The Lord of the Rings. He also went by the names Gandalf the Grey and later Gandalf the White. He's my favorite in Lord of the Rings. One of the wizards sent to Middle-earth by the Valar during the Third Age. He has the role of uniting the people against the evil of Sauron. However, he has to, according to a strict set of rules, such as never assuming any office of authority. They also could not force people to follow them, only offering advice and suggestions to point people in the right direction. Of the 5 wizards, only Gandalf stayed true to his mission, with the other wizards losing their way. Ironically, Gandalf himself has a short temper and sometimes snapped at other characters. Despite this, however, he also knew his limits and genuinely trusted his friends and companions to do their part. He also proved willing to sacrifice himself to do the right thing, which later led to his new title of the White. Next is Glinda, the Good Witch. She's a princess dog. She came down in a bubble dog. Also known as the Good Witch of the South, Glinda comes from the Wizard of Oz franchise. She rules Quadling County, which lies south of Emerald City, and also serves as the protector of Princess Ozma. After the Wizard of Oz leaves using his balloon, Glinda gains the reputation of being the most powerful sorceress in Oz. She later shows her power by casting a spell that makes Oz completely invisible to people from our world. However, despite her reputation as a good witch, Glinda also has a ruthless streak of her own. This shows in the novel The Emerald City of Oz, where Glinda deliberately ignores violence in lands like Jinxland and the Skeezer territory. That said, she only does so as long as the violence doesn't threaten the Emerald City or innocent people. She also justifies doing so by pointing out that magic can't solve every problem in the world. Sometimes people just have to work out their problems on their own. Next is Harry Dresden from the Dresden Files, which I've never read. The main character in the Dresden Files book series, Harry is a detective who has magical skills. He uses his skills to assist him in his duties as a detective, which comes in handy as the world he lives in treats magic as an open secret. Officially, magic isn't real, but unofficially, everyone accepts its existence, as well as that of various magical creatures like vampires and werewolves. Harry also holds the reputation of the world's only consulting wizard. Clients, both human and non-human, visit him regularly to have him handle cases both discreetly and efficiently. His reputation grew steadily throughout the franchise, which also earned him a list of enemies. In particular, he once finds himself caught against a global conspiracy that he has to face to protect the innocent people of the world. He sounds like Sherlock Holmes, but with magic powers. Next is Harry Potter. There isn't a child who doesn't know his name. Harry Potter is the main character of the Harry Potter franchise. As a baby, he was orphaned and given to relatives Vernon and Petunia Dursley, who treated him horribly. His parents, James and Lily Potter, supposedly died in a car crash. On his 11th birthday, however, a man named Hagrid reveals the truth. Harry's parents had magical powers, and so does Harry. Rest in peace, Robbie Coltrane. Harry enters the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry to learn to control his powers. There he makes friends and enemies, and also a series of life-threatening adventures. He also comes face to face with the Dark Lord Voldemort. Voldemort is a dark wizard who seeks to gain complete control of Britain's magical society. Harry and his friends eventually lead the fight against him throughout the franchise. Next is another historical figure, Judah Low ben Bezalel. I only know him as Judah Low, but anyway. A rabbi who lived in Prague during the 16th and 17th centuries, Low earned his fame for his contributions to Jewish philosophy. As a rabbi, he deeply studied the Talmud, the core text of the Jewish faith, and even wrote commentaries on other Jewish scholars' commentaries for the Torah. This made him relevant not just to Jewish scholars, but to Christian scholars as well, as the Torah is essentially the first 5 books of the Bible's Old Testament. However, Low also had a reputation as a mystic, with Holy Roman Emperor Rudolph II consulting with Low on the Kabbalah. This later led to rumors of Low supposedly having magical powers of his own. In particular, he supposedly had the power to make a golem, a living statue of clay, which he used to protect the Jews of Prague from persecution. That's how I know Rabbi Low, is he made the golem. Unfortunately, as Low lacked God's power to give the golem a soul, the golem could not truly tell right from wrong. This led it to go on a vengeful rampage against anyone who wronged the Jews and killed innocent people in the process. Low eventually destroyed his creation to stop the rampage, but he preserved and hid the knowledge to make a golem in case it ever proved necessary again. There's another wizard from Warhammer. I'm going to skip that one. Let's move on to a mythology one. We have Medea from Greek mythology. One of the most infamous characters from Greek mythology, as a witch and the daughter of King Aeetes of Colchis, Medea served as the priestess of Hecate. When Jason and the Argonauts arrived, the goddess Aphrodite made her fall in love with Jason. This led her to first murder her brother and then help Jason steal the golden fleece. Jason took her with him to Greece. Hey Daryl, welcome. Yeah, we're talking about famous wizards. Jason took her with him to Greece, where he married Medea and had children with her. However, Jason eventually left Medea to marry Glauce, the daughter of King Creon of Corinth. Medea responded by poisoning both Glauce and Creon, only for Corinth's citizens to murder her children in return. I don't know this part of the story of Jason and the Argonauts. Medea buried them in the temple of Hera before cursing Jason for breaking his marriage vows. Hey, Masali from Algeria, thank you for joining. The gods upheld Medea's curse with the sun titan Helios sending her a chariot drawn by dragons to bring her to safety. Terrified, the Corinthians banished Jason from the city, and he later died, cursed and abandoned by the gods. As for Medea, she returned to Colchis at first, where she reconciled with her father. Later, she had another son, Medes, who became king of the Aryans. Medes renamed them the Medes, and their nation the Median Empire, in his mother's honor. If anyone joining wants a topic for me to whisper about, like something from history or a famous person or a place, just drop it in the box and I'll whisper it if I can find it. The next wizard on our list is Merlin, another famous one from history, allegedly. The archetypal wizard in Western culture. It must be early. Yeah, it's almost 7 in the morning. I woke up way too early. The archetypal wizard in Western culture, Merlin, comes from the Welsh name Myrddin. He plays a major role in the Arthurian legend, although the details vary between the many versions of the story. In all versions, however, Merlin serves as a mentor to Arthur before he became king, and afterward continues to serve as his advisor. More than that, Merlin even has a hand in ensuring that Arthur even exists in the first place. This resulted from how Merlin helped Arthur's father, King Uther, seduce Igraine. Merlin also later places a sword in a stone, with whoever draws it becoming the rightful king of Britain. However, he also made sure that only Arthur could ever draw the sword. The morning birds are out. Merlin eventually gets trapped in a cave or a tower by the Lady of the Lake, although he leaves a series of prophecies foretelling various events of the future. Next wizard from one of my favorite movies. It's Miracle Max from The Princess Bride. A wizard from The Princess Bride, Miracle Max ironically never gets called a wizard in the novel. Instead, he's called a medicine man, as well as a miracle worker, from which he gets his name. Although he once served the royal family of Gilder, he eventually gets dismissed in favor of a younger man. Miracle Max's dismissal later returns to haunt Prince Humperdinck of Guild, when a spiteful Miracle Max helps the prince's enemies. In fact, Miracle Max helps bring Wesley back to life. Ironically, despite his small but important role in the story, Miracle Max never actually had much characterization of his own. In fact, the author William Goldman even admitted that he came up with Miracle Max's story on the spot. Wow. Let me grab a drink, and then we have another from Arthurian legend. This is so relaxing. Oh, I'm sorry you've had panic attacks, Daryl. I'm glad I can help you. Next is Morgan Le Fay, an antagonist from the Arthurian tradition. Sorry, I just saw the next one that made me laugh. She's Arthur's half-sister from their mother's first marriage with the Duke of Cornwall. Uther seducing her mother caused Morgana to develop a grudge against her half-brother. This eventually led to her seducing Arthur and having a son with him, Mordred. She plots to have Mordred kill Arthur before taking his throne, but Arthur foils her plot by killing Mordred before getting taken away to Avalon. That said, scholars note that Morgana's traditional character results from the synthesis of older oral traditions about King Arthur. In particular, they note that Morgana originally served as Arthur's protector after Merlin's disappearance. She also never had any relation with Arthur, whose half-sister, named Morgause. Morgana also later became one of 4 witches who carried away Arthur after his battle with Mordred to Avalon. There they watch over Arthur's sleep until the day comes when Britain needs him to return. This is so funny. The next one on here is Naga Sadow, who's from the Star Wars comic books, which I loved as a kid, and I completely forgot about this guy. But we're gonna skip him for a historical wizard, Nostradamus. A French astrologer from the 16th century, Nostradamus had various noble patrons, most famously Catherine de' Medici, who married King Henry II of France. Nostradamus cemented his reputation as a seer when he predicted all 3 of her sons would become kings. This prediction became reality when her brothers succeeded each other. The brothers succeeded each other in order as King Francis II, Charles IX, and Henry III. Nostradamus later published a book, Les Prophéties, containing 942 prophetic poems. According to his modern supporters, these poems supposedly predicted events far ahead of Nostradamus' life. These include the rise and fall of Napoleon, World War I, the rise of Adolf Hitler, World War II, and even the September 11th attacks. Historical experts, however, dismiss these claims as coincidence at best, or as Nostradamus' supporters simply interpreting his poems subjectively. They point out how the vagueness of his poetry could mean anything, and that the poems known today, have changed in context, giving the linguistic shifts of the French and English languages in the centuries since. Next is from, we've got a bot. There we go. Nope, it didn't get blocked. Hold on. Let me. There we go. Okay. Next is from William Shakespeare's Tempest. It's Prospero. The protagonist, there's no picture, or I'd show you. The protagonist of William Shakespeare's The Tempest, Prospero originally ruled the city of Milan in Italy as a duke. However, his brother Antonio usurped the duchy before setting Prospero and his daughter Miranda adrift on the sea to die. They, however, managed to find a small island where they start a new life. Prospero uses his magic to control the weather, as well as fend off any threats to his and Miranda's survival. He also uses magic to release a spirit, Ariel, from a prison on the island. In return for his freedom, Ariel agrees to become Prospero's servant. Prospero also similarly binds a monster, Caliban, which lives on the island. At the end of the play, however, Prospero destroys all his materials of magic and swears never to use it again. Shakespeare wrote this to remove any ambiguity about the play's ending in light of Christian beliefs in the immortality of magic. There's this is funny. If anyone knows the Discworld books, Rincewind is on here. I'm gonna skip Rincewind, even though he's a really funny wizard. I'm gonna read about Saruman, also known as Saruman the White. He led the wizards sent by the Valar to Middle-earth during the Third Age. Yeah, bot attack. Oh. There we go. While he also operated under the same limitations as the other wizards, as their leader, Saruman could use more power than the others. Gandalf also described him as the most cunning of the wizards, and the one who seemed to understand Sauron the most. However, other characters also described Saruman as unwise, despite his cunning and intelligence. They also saw his understanding of Sauron as ironically leading to Saruman eventually making a power play of his own. This eventually leads to Gandalf stripping Saruman of his membership among the wizards. Saruman's final attempts to regain power ultimately end in his death, and even then, the Valar condemns his spirit to wander the world as punishment for betraying his duty. And staying with Lord of the Rings, we have, of course, Sauron. You can see the ring of power on his finger there. The main antagonist of the Lord of the Rings, Sauron, actually has many names and titles. These include Mehron, Thu, Gorthar the Cruel, Sauron the Sorcerer, Sauron the Great, and Sauron the Deceiver. In the Lord of the Rings prequel, The Silmarillion, Sauron served the first Dark Lord Morgoth as his second in command. After the Valar defeated Morgoth, Sauron received the chance to atone for his past evils, but didn't out of pride. Oh, I got another like. Thank you guys for that. This led him to become the next Dark Lord, with Sauron tricking the remaining elves in Middle-earth to create the Rings of Power. The rings had the power to preserve the world against the decay that came with age and time. Ooh, I'm so glad you got some tea. That sounds really good. I'm definitely making tea this morning to help my poor throat, but my throat's okay. However, Sauron secretly bound the rings the elves had made to his own one ring. This allowed him to control those who had and used the other rings as extensions of himself. Sauron planned to use this as part of a plot to finish what his old master had started and rule the world. This led to an alliance between men and elves, which succeeded in temporarily defeating Sauron and the loss of the One Ring. Sauron eventually returns after 3,000 years, with the story of the Lord of the Rings focused on the quest to destroy the One Ring. Next is from Harry Potter, Tom Riddle Jr., or Lord Voldemort. The main antagonist of the Harry Potter franchise, Tom also goes by another name, that of Lord Voldemort. He created the alias to avoid having to use his real name, which he finds insulting as it reflects his background. Specifically, Tom's mother used magic to seduce his father, only for his father to abandon them both after the magic wore off. This led Tom to develop a hatred for non-magical people, or muggles, as they're known in the franchise. This hatred extends to any witches or wizards with muggle blood in them, even to himself, hence his refusal to use his real name. Oh, come on, bots. Go away. Remove. Yikes, okay. Tom also greatly feared death, which resulted from the early death of his mother. This led him to resort to the evilest kind of magic to try and become immortal. In fact, the final conflict of the franchise revolves around Harry and his friends destroying magical pieces that make Tom immortal. Next, we have the Wicked Witch of the West. The first antagonist in the Wizard of Oz franchise, she rules the Winky Country in the Land of Oz. Ironically, while described as having an ugly appearance to reflect her evil nature, she lives in a beautiful castle. This later changed in the novel's various adaptations, with the witch's castle becoming a sinister fortress. The witch allies herself with the other wicked witches to conquer the Land of Oz. However, her selfish nature becomes apparent when the Wicked Witch of the East gets killed. Instead of grieving her fallen ally, the Wicked Witch of the West plots to instead loot the Wicked Witch of the East's silver shoes to increase her power. This leads her into a confrontation with Dorothy and her friends, who manage to recover the shoes after the Wicked Witch of the East's death. Next is the actual Wizard of Oz, but I'm going to skip him so we can talk about Zoroaster, like an actual historical wizard. An Iranian prophet from the 2nd millennium BCE, Zoroaster founded the Zoroastrian religion. He also founded the Magi, priests who served as the Zoroastrian fire temples. They also practiced astrology and other forms of magic to divine the future. This gave them a reputation as wise sages and masters of magic. What kind of bird is that? I don't know. In fact, the words magic and magician both trace their roots back to the Iranian word mayu, via the Latin magus. Ironically, Zoroaster himself remains a mystery both to modern historians and even Zoroastrians themselves. However, his status as the founder of the Magi has resulted in Zoroaster sharing his disciples his reputation as mystic masters. In modern times, the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche popularized his original Iranian name, Zarathustra. Nietzsche used Zarathustra as the protagonist of his work, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, which describes how man can surpass humanity to become a superhuman. Alright, let's see. What else should we whisper about tonight? Maybe like one more thing, because it's getting to be. Oh, I gotta plug in my laptop. Oh dear, oh dear. I don't know where my plug is. Oh, it's right here. It's right here. There we go. About the Mayans and Aztecs. That's a great idea, Dr. Pickle. Let's do the Mayans. Let's see. The Mayans. Alright. Let's read about the Mayans. First fact. Teotihuacan influenced the Mayans during their early classical period. Teotihuacan is an ancient city about 40 kilometers northeast of Mexico City. Hold on, I forgot to get water first. The name is actually Aztec in origin, as what its citizens have called it still remains a mystery. It means place of the gods, as the Aztecs have only known the city as ruins, believing that the gods had once lived there. In the early days of the classic Maya, however, Teotihuacan dominated ancient Mesoamerica. Some scientists even claim that the people of Teotihuacan were also Mayans themselves, based on their city's architectural similarities. However, most scientists also thought that Teotihuacan belonged to a different and older civilization from which the Mayans borrowed influences. Archaeological evidence also supported this, as shown by Teotihuacan's attack on the Mayan city of Tikal and its vassals. The reason remained a mystery, however, but it saw King Chaktok Ichak I of Tikal killed, and the Teotihuacan-backed Yakshun Ayin I installed in his place. These facts are really long, but it's interesting. Next fact. The collapse of the classical Mayan civilization remains one of history's greatest mysteries. It took place over the course of the 9th century, marked by population decline and a drop in new construction over the years. As slow as it was, it sadly ended totally. By the year 900 CE, all Mayan kingdoms in the region had simply collapsed. Archaeologists have put forward various theories as to the cause. One of those is that of a foreign invasion, which is backed by the archaeological record of the Toltecs migrating into Mesoamerica at this time. Another theory links the collapse to the fall of Teotihuacan, another mysterious event that has taken place a century ago. Other theories include a pandemic or even a global climate shift, which historians call the medieval warm period, that has also caused a drought in Egypt. None of the theories can completely answer the mystery, and so archaeologists continue to study the matter even to this day. Next fact. The Mayans became more warlike in their post-classic period. They got the temperature. Archaeologists have since abandoned the old theory of the Mayans as a pacifist society, unlike the warlike Toltecs and Aztecs. However, the post-classic Maya were definitely much more warlike compared to their predecessors. Their ancestors built their cities in the lowlands, where large numbers of people could easily come and go for ease of trade. However, that also made them easier to attack, and so the post-classic Maya built their cities on top of hills or behind deep ravines. Hard to reach, yes, but also hard to attack. Archaeologists think this change resulted from Toltec influences, as well as a reaction to the Toltecs' own repeated attacks on the Mayans. I didn't know that. That's interesting. I never thought of the Mayans as warlike. Next fact. Even in decline, the post-classic Mayans remained a great civilization. The first Spaniards to encounter the Mayans gave reports of rich coastal cities thriving on complex trade networks. The Quiche Mayans even ruled a small empire of their own, covering the western part of the Guatemalan highlands and the neighboring Pacific coast. The Kaqchikel Mayans were also powerful at this time, even challenging the Quiche Mayans' power for decades before the Spaniards' arrival. It's getting light out, but you can't really tell because the window's still closed. I can't be bothered to get up to open it. Next fact. The Spaniards turned on the Mayans after the Aztec Empire fell. After the fall of Tenochtitlan, the conquistador Pedro de Alvarado led an army into Guatemala. The Quiche Mayans fell first, and while the Kaqchikel Mayans managed to make an arrangement with the Spaniards beforehand, it soon fell apart. The Mam Maya followed, then the Yucatan Maya, and finally the Mayas of the Petén Basin. Next fact. Ancient Mayans had a complex political system. The ancient Mayans never formed a single united empire the way the Aztecs had. Instead, many small kingdoms and chiefdoms competed with each other for power and influence. Kings ruled by divine mandate, mobilizing the nobility and commoners alike to build and maintain their cities and other infrastructure. Complex administrative systems arose to manage the Mayan states, which the kings staffed with loyal supporters in place of blood relatives. The constant blaze for power led to small population centers along the borders of the states to change sides with surprising frequency. The birds are so loud. Smaller, weaker cities paid tribute to bigger, more powerful cities, which enforced their dominance with military power. Warrior pride and honor led to a focus on capturing and humiliating defeated warriors, which further maintained the fragmented state of the Mayan civilization. Okay, next, let me see how long this is because these facts are really, really long. I might just read the shorter ones and not the big long ones. I think I will do that. Let's see. Let me see. I want to read. Mayan merchants had a curious custom when traveling. Specifically, they painted their bodies completely black. They did so out of religious obligation, as the Mayan traders, his patron gods, also doubled as gods of the underworld. This went hand in hand with the dangers that came with moving across rival states and even enemy kingdoms and empires. In fact, the Mayans saw the traders traveling across the land to sell their goods as similar to traveling across the underworld. Next fact, Mayans held a fondness for the color green. That or the color blue-green, with the words for both colors actually the same in the Mayan language. This made jade very important to the Mayans, along with other green-colored gemstones. They sculpted or worked them into jewelry and other works of art, such as sculpted heads over 4 kilograms in weight. Nobles commonly embedded jade into their teeth and buried their dead with elaborate death masks, also made of jade. Let's see. These are so long. Mayans had an alphabet of their own as far back as 300 BCE. In fact, they had the most complex alphabet out of all the Mesoamerican civilizations. They also had the distinction of being the closest representation to their spoken language among the Mesoamerican alphabets. The alphabet included hieroglyphs that mostly symbolized syllables, along with many that symbolized entire words. Next fact, the ancient Mayans had an advanced grasp of mathematics. They were the first people in the world to discover the concept of zero. In fact, only circumstantial evidence supports the idea that the ancient Babylonians discovered zero before the Mayans. Like all Mesoamerican civilizations, the Mayans used a base 20 numerical system. They used a shell to represent the zero, a dot for the number 1, and a bar for the number 5. All other numbers involved repetitions and arrangements of those symbols. Alright, the last one on here is the Mayans only managed to domesticate a few animals. Dogs were among the first animals they domesticated both as pets and for food. The Mayans also managed to domesticate ducks during their post-classical period. Otherwise, the Mayans just hunted animals for food, such as turkeys and deer. Let's see. Yeah, these are all really long-winded facts. Let me read like one of them out. Let's see. I'm starting to get hungry for breakfast, so I might just read this and then go. I think it's early enough or late in the morning enough for me to start making noise in the house. And if I wake up the dog, then so be it. It's her wake up time anyway. How about Mayan warriors used a variety of weapons. One of these was atlatl, spear throwers, which the Mayans learned to make and use from Teotihuacan. Common-born warriors also used blowguns, usually used to hunt wild animals, but was also utilized in war. Classical Mayans had bows and arrows, but surprisingly never used them in war until the post classical period. And of course, like all Mesoamerican civilizations, the Mayans had their own version of the macuahuitl, wooden clubs with edges lined with sharpened obsidian blades. And there's a picture of a macuahuitl. Let me turn this over. That's pretty terrifying of a weapon. There's a skull on it. It's pretty cool, alright? I'm gonna stop reading facts to spare my voice because since I'm house sitting, I'm probably going to go live again later. I appreciate the likes on this weird little stream. There was a time when zero didn't exist. Yeah, people, I know the Greeks rejected the idea of zero. Like, how can you have nothing of something? Which I guess when you think about it, I understand why they would think that. But like, if you were doing like, Johnny has 3 apples and he gave away 3 apples, how many apples does he have? 0. Like, or I guess like if you're an ancient Greek mathematician, you just say like, Johnny has no more apples. Like there was no concept of 0 back then. Yeah, the sun is coming up and it's really pretty outside. But you can't really tell because I have the blinds closed. I'll stick on and whisper for a little bit longer, I think, just to have a little chat before I get going. I'm gonna make some eggs for breakfast, I think, and some sausage. Because there's some, oh no, or should I have my leftover? I had a burger for dinner and I only ate half of it. Should I eat the other half? It has lots of mushrooms and stuff on it. No, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make eggs. I'm gonna have a sausage, and I'm gonna have some of the extra mushrooms from the burger to it. I think that's a good breakfast. I love mushrooms. Oh my gosh. All mushrooms to me are so good. But I get why people don't like mushrooms. Because it is kind of weird that it's a fungi that kind of tastes like meat. Like, it is weird. Fungi is creepy in general. I don't like to think about fungi because it's a thing that's neither alive nor dead. And that's kind of messed up. Talk about a strange concept, right? But yeah, it's a Saturday morning, so this kid I'm watching is actually 17, so I know that this is like a big sleepy time for 17-year-olds, so I don't want to bother him, you know. But I'm getting hungry for breakfast. And then when I get up, I'm gonna wake up the dog, and then she's gonna run around, and then she's gonna wake up the kid, and then he'll probably just go back to sleep, I guess. I don't know. Don't you miss Saturday mornings when you were a kid? I feel like it's so different now. Because when I was little, Saturday morning meant waking up as early as possible to watch cartoons. That's not really a thing anymore, is it? Because now they're streaming and everything. You can watch cartoons whenever you want. So there's no like special time to watch cartoons anymore. Kind of a sad thing, but it's okay. It's just time. Moving on. It's just how things are. If I was a kid and I could watch cartoons whenever I wanted, I would be over the moon. Because I didn't like the waking up early part, I just liked the watching cartoons part. I don't even remember what I would watch. I watched a lot of different cartoons. I remember X-Men. What else? Not to be rude, but why does a 17-year-old need to be watched? So he doesn't throw any ragers. I know. He's kind of bummed about it too, but High Skinny Legend. He just needs to be monitored, right? I'm not babysitting him. I'm just here while his parents are away. And I'm just making sure he follows curfew and doesn't do anything dumb. Mainly because in his friend group, I'm not going to get into detail, but in his friend group, one of his friends did something very dumb and wound up in the hospital. So he's okay. He's much better now, I should say. It's just some broken bones, various broken bones in his body. So I'm just here to make sure that no other stupid things happen. Yeah. It's kind of a funny story now. The kid that got hurt does not think it's funny. But I think that in a couple years he'll think it's very funny. When I'm like, when you're a teenager and you're invincible and you can do anything, and you don't think through consequences, and then you wind up hurting yourself. Um, I think I talked about this before because I was watching him a few weeks ago. Yeah, he's fine now. He's actually like way better now. He still has a cast on one of his arms, but a lot of his other bones are pretty much healed. Um, but yeah, the last time I was house sitting, I was at his house because he couldn't drive to school, so I had to take him to school. Like he was like a freshman. Um, but yeah, I remember I had a very traumatic injury when I was 17. I tore my Achilles tendon while dancing in my dance studio. And I still don't know what exactly happened, but my gosh, it hurt so bad. And it hurt for like a good 3 months or so. And I had to have crutches and a special boot, everything. I couldn't walk on it. So I get it. At least I didn't do some like weird, stupid thing. But I understand what it's like to be a teenager and be injured like that and feel like you're not invisible anymore. It really sucks. But anyway, let's see, how old is a freshman? Oh, sure. A freshman is like 15, 14 to 15. Yeah, it's the elementary system is when you're 5 to 6 until you're like 11, 12, 10, 11, 12. And then middle school is like 11, 12 to about like 14. And then freshman is like 14, 15. I was 15 when I was a freshman because my birthday's in August. So I always started the school year just like a week after my birthday. So I was 15 as a freshman. And I graduated just before my 18th birthday. Like a couple months before my 18th birthday. So yeah, it's that late stage of teenage years is high school, like 15 to typically 18. Sometimes kids are 19 if they started school really late. But that's kind of rare. I remember at my high school we had one girl who was 19 and we were like, whoa, she had to repeat a year. And she seemed so old. But yeah, it's funny how school systems are so different around the world when it's just education. Like, oh no, Dr. Pickle broke their collarbone when they were 7, falling off the parents' bed. Ouchie, I can't imagine breaking that kind of bone. Oh, that must have hurt so bad. Thankfully, I never broke a bone until I was like in my adult years because I don't think I could have handled it as a kid. I never did anything risky that would have made my bones break when I was a kid. I never rode a bike or anything because I was really afraid of breaking a bone. I broke this thumb. I broke this part right here. And I broke my elbow. That's like the biggest one. It still doesn't work. It's held together with a bunch of screws. And when I'm like in my 50s to 60s, I can get it replaced with a fake elbow so I can finally have full mobility. The Netherlands, 6 to 12 is primary school and 12 to 18 is secondary school. Oh, I'm so glad you don't remember that, Dr. Pickle. That would have traumatized me as a kid. That's interesting. In the Netherlands, you have 2 schools, primary and secondary. That makes sense. That's very practical, straightforward. Whereas, like, here, there's the little kid school, the puberty school, and then the teenage school. So you can, like, adjust, I suppose. But it's weird because high school and college, or university, as it's called everywhere else in the world, isn't like high school at all. Like, high school is supposed to prepare you for college, but college is absolutely nothing like high school, like at all. High school is so much harder, like, there's so much stricter on you. Whereas in college, it's just like, it's totally up to you if you want to do your homework or not. It's just, you'll fail if you don't, but that's totally your responsibility. Let me get this bot off. 1 second, please. 1 second. 1 second. There. I know. Oops, there's one left. There. I thought it was hidden already. Half of them, thankfully, you're not seeing. They pop up as an option for me to hide them or not. So obviously, I hide them. So you only see a couple of them. I see a lot more. Daryl's daughter just started secondary school and she loves school. I'm so glad. I love kids that love learning. Obviously, as a former teacher, I love it when there's kids that like learning and are excited to learn and are excited to show up to school to learn things. Because it's really delightful to teach those kinds of kids. The ones that are eager to learn, there's one more. The one not so eager is not as fun, but it just means you haven't cracked them yet to get them interested in learning. Every kid has an interest in something. You just have to find out what it is, and then you can use that to educate them. If we could boost this up to 10 likes, that'd be great. I won't ask for any more than 10 likes. I just want to see if it can happen. But yeah, I can't imagine I'm going to be on here for much longer because it's getting bright outside. I can't reach any of the windows to open them, or I would let more light in, but the sun is rising. Daryl's son's still in primary school. He has favorite subjects. Yeah, that was kind of me when I was that age. Skinny legend, I'm not going to go to Born Pink because I might risk for COVID. So, sadly, I can't go see the girls this year. I saw them, though, in 2019 when they were touring with Gilda's Love. So, I have seen Blackpink. I made eye contact with Jisoo. That was really cool. So, it's all good, honestly. Yeah. I can't go to concerts yet, not till it's safer to do so. Which is kind of a bummer because so many K-pop groups have come through San Francisco this year. Dreamcatcher, Luna, Sunmi, lots of good ones, but I can't go see them because it's too high risk for me. How about you? Are you going to Born Pink? Are they going to the Netherlands? Are they going to Amsterdam? I feel like I saw Amsterdam on their list. If not, there's always London. You didn't like K-pop in 2019? Wow, you're brand new. I've been listening to K-pop for over 10 years now. I'm an old person. I started, Big Bang is what got me into K-pop. No, actually, Yana opened the doors, but I casually listened to Big Bang before I got really into K-pop. I still love Big Bang. All 4 members are really cool. Yes, they are. It's very hard to get them. Oh, I'm so glad you get to go see the girls. They put on such a fun show. I remember Jenny was the only one with the solo song at the time. Sorry for anyone that's not interested in K-pop, but I'm going to talk about K-pop for a minute because Skinny Legend's here. Jenny was the only one with the solo. Rosé hadn't come out. 10 years ago, you were 7. Oh, Daryl's never been to a concert. Well, you should definitely go because concerts are a lot of fun once it's safe to do so. 10 years ago, I was an adult. Yeah, so Jenny sang solo, and she came out in the most beautiful red dress, and she absolutely killed it. Who have I seen live? I think for people like you, I've seen Yes. I've seen Alan Parsons Project, like dad bands. When I was a kid and got dragged to concerts, I remember seeing Yes. Um, but I've been to mostly K-pop concerts. I've seen, you won't know them, but I've seen Taeyong and G-Dragon and Blackpink and CL. Um, I've always loved YG artists, so that's the only ones I've seen. I had tickets to see Idol in 2020, but then COVID happened and it got canceled and I got refunded, which was a bummer because I had meet and greet tickets and everything. I wanted to meet one of my favorite K-pop singers, Soyeon, but didn't get to because of COVID. They actually canceled like way before we started lockdown here. 10 years ago, you were 24. Yeah, 10 years ago, I was 27. It's so wild. They canceled in like the beginning of February 2020. And I remember being like, well, the concert's in July. Who knows if this virus is still going to be around by July, you know? That seems so sudden that they canceled. But now looking back, it's smart that they canceled when they did, you know? I'm still bummed I didn't get to meet one of my faves, though. I was going to get to like shake her hand and everything. Very sad. I've been to other concerts, but I can't think. I've been to like indie bands and stuff. Bands that I can't even remember, you know. Oh yeah, if you love J-pop, Dr. Pickle, you'll love K-pop. You can start listening to, because there's a lot of K-pop artists that do J-pop too. Like BTS has some really great J-pop songs. Twice has some really cute ones. They finally put on a more mature sound in Japan, and it's really good. And then ITZY just put out a J-pop song called Blah Blah Blah. That's pretty good. I got into K-pop because of J-pop, because I started to realize that I was listening to Japanese versions of K-pop songs, or K-pop artists putting out exclusive Japanese songs. And then I was like, why don't I just listen to them in their native language? And that was the end of that. Like, I got into it because I was listening to Big Bang's Japanese versions of their songs, and 21's versions of their songs in Japanese. Ooh, it got really bright. The sun's coming out. It's a beautiful day. I might go live later again today. Who knows? If I'm really bored, I'll go live again. But I need to go use the bathroom now, and I'm gonna go make breakfast. So I'm going to head out from this live. I don't know. What do you think, guys? Should I keep this up on my channel? Is this good enough to stay up? Dr. Pickle was here the longest. What do you think, Dr. Pickle? Do you think this has replay value? I wanted to come and whisper because I got a comment from someone today that was like, please do more whisper videos. Oh, Metallica's great. I like Metallica. But K-pop is really great. K-pop is so much fun. It's just happy songs. It makes you feel happy. But yeah, it was interesting. Okay, I'll leave it up on the channel then. I got a comment, someone wanting more whisper videos, and I was trying to explain that like most people prefer soft-spoken, and my whisper videos don't get a lot of views. But I always feel bad because I love whisper videos. So I thought I would do a whisper stream when I woke up, and I was like wide awake. I woke up at like 4:30 a.m. just like wide awake. And I did research. I was reading about Germany, and I got bored, so I thought I'd go live. But anyway, I will probably go live later today. You love whispers, good. Me too. They're also my fave, but they get the least amount of views on my channel. Like, I would say out of like my hundreds of videos, like the top 50 or so are all soft spoken. Like, there's maybe one or two in there that are whispered, but um, it's just not as popular right now, which is really weird because ASMR started off as whispers. It didn't used to be soft spoken videos, and now it's like that's what is like the thing. It's really weird how trends in ASMR happen. But anyway, I'll leave this up for the replay value of it. I hope that the quality was good enough without my microphone. Hey, just beautiful. I was just about to leave. Gonna make me stick around. Um, I guess I can stick around a little longer. I know I'm sorry. But I'll probably go live later again today in like a few hours, probably. Because it's really boring here watching a teenager that doesn't want to be watched. So he just either just sits in his room or he goes off with his friends. So I have like nothing to do other than play with the dog, which is nice. But oh my gosh, you guys, I after dinner last night, the dog and I went on like a 30-40 minute walk, which for a dog is whatever, but she's a little dog, right? So she was so pooped out after it. She literally, I couldn't get her off the bed to go pee at the end of the night. She wanted to just lay on the bed. She was so exhausted, but it was a really nice walk. She's so funny. And so cute. I love how they got her hair cut right now. It's super short from what they normally do, and it looks so good on her. Like when she has her hair long, you can really tell the poodle part of her. Like she looks more poodly, but with her hair short, she looks more cocker spaniely. She's a cockerel Spanish girl. I was researching Germany, and there's a section in the book about dog breeds, and I really didn't realize how many dog breeds came from Germany. Like Doberman Pinschers and Rottweilers. It just never occurred to me that those were German dogs. Yeah, lots of different dog breeds, but that's kind of like one of the dog breeding areas of the world, you know, like Western in Central Europe. There's a lot of dog breeds from Western and Central Europe. But yeah, I'm gonna head out because I need to go use the bathroom. And I'm gonna make some eggs and sausage for breakfast. And I'll probably be back much later. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. And we'll do this soon. Bye, guys.